Farming food and fashion for a discerning world is serious business in Aotearoa, New Zealand. There are new opportunities everywhere just waiting for the open-minded. Sarah's Country shines a light on the matters that matter most. And here's your host, Sarah Perriam.
Kia ora and welcome to Sarah's Country, your home to those who are driving change from the status quo into how we have traditionally farmed food and fashion here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. We launched Sarah's Country in its multifaceted format the first week of lockdown 2020, and we combined every technology we had at our fingertips at the time. Pivoting, if you'll like that word anymore, from the status quo of rural media that had been to date, newspapers and radio, to support New Zealand's most vital sector to keep going as the world shut down in 2020. Live streamed across the world via multiple different platforms and, of course, in so many different ways that people consume Sarah's Country in 2020 on demand as well. And one thing that will never, ever, ever change about this show is the word change itself, because I am accustomed to it and okay with it but the thing is, it's important to me that before we get into this week's Opinion Maker, a theme around the future of farming through the lens of future leaders, that I wanted to give you a lens on our own changes and why. We are back, obviously, after a 2-week break to pivot, if you will, again, into our new recording format. This is to bring you, of course, what you've become accustomed to, but of course more, because everyone wants more change, more new, but we want to also do this in a way that is sustainable for myself and my team, because we have a lot going on. So what do you need to know? Well, we've made a decision following our audience survey to get off the week-to-week news cycle, because we made a decision that there's plenty of media doing that, so we don't need to keep doing the same of more. So we no longer have synergies with Farmers Weekly. That's okay. We're still great mates. We're just on different paths going forward. So if you want to follow what's on Sarah's Country that was in my daily digest, you can now sign up to our own email, sarahscountry.com, and in a week in advance, you'll get a whole month ahead, as well as things you should know about that you may have missed. So sarahscountry.com, subscribe to the email, and you can keep up to date that way. We also are batch recording our shows now, once every 3 to 4 weeks. So of course, it doesn't mean that we'll be live as such when we broadcast, but what it does mean, apart from bigger days recording, is that we can free up 2 to 3 weeks a month for our fast-growing marketing and production agency, Perriam Media, which is taking a lot of my time, as well as speaking engagements across the country. And so I'm okay with recording once a month a bunch of long-form content that is more timeless. And we're only broadcasting a scheduled show once a week now at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays in those same places on the Facebook page, Sarah's Country Facebook page, and sarahscountry.com. So the Opinion Maker will be the one thing that you can tune in at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. Everything else is there on demand every single day of the week. You can find that on podcast and also YouTube. So therefore, yes, we might not be live as such, but we have bigger plans for actual really cool live events coming soon. Everything is focusing around podcasts first, because it has become our biggest audience, and we're doing that to create more to come. So hopefully that was a bit of a brief summary of explanation of our break. I had my mum ring me up and make sure everything was okay. Yes, everything is okay. Nothing has happened. We just literally needed to pivot and reset and keep going. I have provided, though, a bit of an honest portrayal of how I see my role in rural broadcasting going into the future, after much reflection over the last 12 months of some personal hurdles and journey that I've been on over the past 5 years in this space in front of the camera, and how to have a bit of more of a sustainable life, but it's at the same time service the amazing audience that we do this for, which is you. So please, if you do want to take a little bit of a deep dive behind the scenes, there's a podcast episode called Sarah Perry and Behind the Lens, My Personal Journey in the Future. Bit raw, but a way of being able to understand why I do what I do with Sarah's Country, and where I potentially be going with this into the future. But we still, as I said, have all of your favourites, including your opinion maker. So if you have any opinions on what I've just said, of course, or thoughts throughout this program, and we're always developing the conversation on this podcast from your feedback. So please email me, Sarah at sarahscountry.com. We want to drive conversations forward for the betterment of our industry and our country. Our theme today is the future of farming through the lens of future leaders. And I love that word lens, because we can see things in different ways and pops up opportunities we may not have seen through our own day-to-day lens, called our subconscious. Now, the Trans-Tasman Zanda McDonald Award is something I love highlighting every year regardless, because of such rich depth to its dedication to unearthing our future leaders, putting them on pedestals that they should be on, but also wrapping them with the knowledge and networks that they need to thrive in their careers, as well as bring forth new ideas for everybody to benefit from. Now tomorrow, if you're watching the scheduled at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, tomorrow at a dawn service in a very special location near Gisborne is the crowning of the 2021 award winner for the Zanda McDonald Award for New Zealand. They've crowned the Australian, and now it's time to choose between the 4 finalists, of which we will have on the show. This is an award that recognises determined and passionate young Kiwis and Aussies to help take their career in agriculture to the next level. So who's Zanda? Who's Zanda McDonald? Well, Zanda was a prominent identity in the Australian beef and livestock industry and a foundational member of the group Platinum Primary Producers. He died in April 2013 in a tragic accident only at the young age of 41 on his Queensland cattle property. Zanda was proud to be a farmer and worked tirelessly to encourage young people to work in the industry that he loved. As part of his role in the PPP group, he led a number of initiatives to promote his industry to the next generation. So in our Opinion Makers show, we are going to meet, as I said, each of these 4 New Zealand finalists in a panel format, in 2 panels across 4 of them, where I'm looking forward to asking them their honest thoughts on leadership into the future and how they see the food and fibre sector through their lens. But before we do, we're going to watch a short video about the awards and then cross to the chairman of the PPP, then chairman, of when the award was created, Shane Mcmanaway. All that up next here on Sarah's Country.
This is Sarah's Country. Join the conversation. Have thoughts on an interview? Or have you got questions you want answered by a future guest? Let us know. Email Sarah at sarahscountry.com.
Through the people that you will meet who are part of the Triple P conference and the mentoring that you will gain and all that you will learn from whatever sector of the industry you might be in, we believe we can take your career to the next level.
This is an award that will catapult you into a leadership position within agriculture. It'll allow you the opportunity to mix and mingle with some of the best in the primary production sector, and it will open doors for you that probably you may not be able to open yourself.
I was extremely humbled to win the award. I was the inaugural winner back in 2015. It meant so much because it's an industry recognised award, and I think to be recognised by your industry, you can't get any better recognition than that.
I think one of the benefits of the award is that it puts you in a prime position to take your business forward or whatever you're up to forward over the next wee while, particularly in agribusiness. For me, access to the Triple P members and sitting across the dining table just talking about business strategy and what they've done in their businesses has been fantastic.
I think one of the most important things is the ability to network with all these people that you wouldn't normally cross paths with at my stage in the career, and that's been fantastic. I didn't think I'd be up to the calibre of getting this far at all, but jagged it, and so glad I did. It's been an amazing experience.
I would encourage any young person in the industry from Australia or New Zealand to apply. Just put yourself out there and have a go. It's an incredible opportunity if you're passionate about what you do and you're enthusiastic and you're a leader and you want to make a difference in your industry, put your hand up.
I can't recommend it enough, really. It's been massive for me. Like just a bush kid sort of thing, and then coming and meeting everyone that's fairly high up in the industry, and they're all just there to help you, and it's been amazing.
So if you're under the age of 36, employed in agriculture in Australia or New Zealand, and are passionate about what you're doing in agriculture and taking it to the next level, I strongly encourage you to apply for this wonderful award.
Well, if there's one thing that COVID has taught us, it's how to adapt and be innovative. So true are the words of our first guest, who may not need much introduction to many of you. However, I certainly will briefly, for those who don't. Shane Mcmanaway. He certainly knows how to adapt from his own personal journey, innovate in the many businesses he's been involved with. But most importantly, Shane loves to give back, and in a way that is a wealth of knowledge and networks, and all with a passion to elevate young people to the next level in their life and careers. And Shane joins us now from Gold Creek in the Wairarapa. Hello, Shane. It's so lovely to have you back on the show, and it's that time of year again. The crowning of the 2021 Zanda McDonald, but this is the New Zealand award winner. And when this goes to air, Shane, it will be the evening before the beautiful ceremony that is going to take place up in Gisborne. Can you tell us a little bit about how you have adapted and innovated with the awards this year?
Well, thanks for having me on, Sarah. It's great to catch up. Yes, we had to adapt, obviously, with the COVID situation that developed. We normally announce this award at the Platinum Primary Producer Conference, which is our conference which has been running since 2005, made up of about 150 of Australasia's leading farmers. We get together annually, and we coincide the announcement with the award. This year, obviously, because of COVID, or last year, we didn't hold the award, and so it was decided that rather than put the award on hold for a year, we would keep the momentum going, but we would have two award winners, one for Australia and one for New Zealand. And the Australian one has already been announced, Rosie O'Reilly from Lampro. Lampro is a massive operation, and Rosie plays a magnificent part in that operation. And then we're heading up to Gisborne on April the 26th to announce the New Zealand winner.
Fantastic. And throughout the rest of the show, we will be meeting the four finalists and talking around not only their careers to date, where they're heading, but also what does leadership look like through their lens? And Shane, that is my question to you. Do we need a new lens to leadership for the future challenges ahead?
Yeah, I think we do, Sarah. I think it's important that our tomorrow's leaders are visionary. I think they need to have the ability to be able to see over the hill and see what's coming. I also think they need to have a very strong ability to be able to take people on the journey with them and attract people around them to help them achieve and initiate those that vision. There's a lot of people have a lot of good ideas, but a lot of them cannot put those into practice. So I guess these people that we're seeing come through have already got a proven track record to this point in time in their short careers. But from here on out, they're really going to be able to be game changers in our industry. And so leadership for me is around being a respected person. It's around being visionary, and it's about being able to explain your vision to other people so they buy into it, and then obviously that's then implemented.
And that sense of influence to lead a group of people forward around a vision is just so crucial. It's not about positional leadership at all. When we talk about your wealth of knowledge and networks that you wrap around, not just the winners, but all of the finalists here in New Zealand and Australia, what are some of those key fundamentals you've taken away from some of the other award winners where it has elevated their careers?
I think the things that you see in these people coming through are people with open minds, people who have got strong networks, people who are they're confident but not overconfident, not to the point where they think they know everything. They're happy to, they do probably a bit more listening than they do talking, some of these fine people. And I think that's probably a good skill in any stage of your life, Sarah, and I speak for myself there. But just the fact that they get involved in this process means that they're wanting to learn, they've got a thirst to better themselves in the industry. And even if they don't win, just the fact that they've applied and brought themselves forward is fantastic.
And of course, it's aptly named Zanda McDonald after the late Zanda McDonald. That was a dear friend of yours from Australia and an identity in the beef industry in Australia. He would be extremely proud of this continuing on. What were some of those ways that he showed leadership that was really stood out for you, Shane?
Well, firstly, he was highly respected and regarded. They come from a family business, MDH, which is based in Queensland, Devonport. They've got huge properties, the largest private family cattle business in Australia, some 160, 180,000 cattle. So magnificent properties, right from the Gulf of Carpentaria right down through to southern Queensland, where they've got a feedlot. Zanda has displayed incredibly strong leadership qualities. He could talk to people at all ends of the spectrum. He'd be as comfortable talking to the Prime Minister as he would a Jackaroo or Jillaroo, and he took the same amount of time at both ends of that spectrum to make people feel good about themselves and to help them understand his vision, and he was very, very good at that. So he was good with young people, bringing them forward. He wanted to make a difference in the industry, both in New Zealand and Australia, more so in Australia. But because I got caught, he was a great friend. We brought the award across to New Zealand with some of those key things that he believed in. So, yeah, he would be extremely, extremely proud, Sarah, if he knew where this award had got to at this stage.
Best wishes. I don't know who the winner is, but by the time some of you be listening to this episode, you will have heard the news. And best wishes to all 4 finalists going forward into their careers, of which we will hear from coming up in the show. But Shane, thank you very much for your time and dedication to what you continuously give, not only to the award and young people, but New Zealand as a whole. We absolutely treasure you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a great industry and I'm very, very proud to be part of it.
Fabulous. Shane Mcmanaway, the patron of the Zanda McDonald Award, who was the chairman of the Triple P Platinum Primary Producers Group at the time of forming the award. Coming up, as I said, in this opinion maker around the future of farming through the lens of future leaders. We're going to kick off our first panel with 2 of the 2021 Zanda McDonald Award New Zealand finalists, Genevieve Stephen, Farm and Enterprise Consultant at KPMG based in Ashburton, and Beck Smith, director of The Whole Story, which is very cool, and veterinary at Vet Ent in Ranfurly. All that up next here on Sarah's Country.
This is Sarah's Country. Catch the latest on the matters that matter most wherever you are. Listen to Sarah's Country on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple or Google Podcasts. Try asking Alexa or Siri, play Sarah's Country on podcast.
One of the first things you learn when you live out here is where to shop for the things you need to live out here. Like electric fencing.
Or horse feed.
Or bee suits.
Children's.
Chook food.
Do you want a couple of these?
Or something stylish to wear. Not everyone's got stuff like this.
But at Farmlands we do, and then some.
So if you need anything to help you farm,
grow, milk, drench,
rear, come on in.
Because we're out here too.
Well, in our opinion maker this week, I invite you to kick back with your open mind and your open heart and listen to what opportunities and challenges for New Zealand's food and fibre industry could look like through the lens of our younger generation, our future leaders, and also the 2021 Zanda McDonald Award New Zealand finalists. Joining us in studio is Genevieve Stephen, a farm enterprise consultant, part of the KPMG Farm Enterprise team based in Ashburton, providing financial management and strategy support to a range of family farming businesses. She's very proud of her facilitation work with 4 Action Network groups for farmers and enjoys being outside and being creative. Sounds very similar to me. Also on the panel, joining us remotely from Ranfurly is Beck Smith, Director of The Whole Story and veterinarian at Vet Ent in Ranfurly. Bex is a rural mixed practice veterinarian by trade, also mother of 2 young girls, business partner in a 700-hectare sheep, beef and deer farm. If she wasn't busy enough, Director of The Whole Story, a social enterprise focused on agricultural sustainability. Bex is also an alumni of the Agri Women's Development Trust Escalator program, and her hobbies include running, skiing, mountain biking, spending quality time with friends and family. Welcome to both of you. It's fantastic to have Genevieve here in studio and Bex remotely. Now, I want to start, where the whole Zanda McDonald Award is around future leadership. So the word leadership, does it need a new lens around how we see leadership, and what does it mean to you going forward? I'll start with you, Genevieve.
Thanks, Sarah. I guess when I think about leadership, particularly in the agri industry, I look around and I look at my peers working in industry, and a whole lot of rural professionals are female. So I think the way we think about what forms of leadership are coming through, I think perhaps certainly a strong shift from what's been a male-dominated leadership pool to more young women coming through and putting forward their ideas, and not necessarily right at the front, but certainly throughout the supply chain, working on farms and industry around New Zealand.
Bex, are you seeing the same?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really interesting to see that leadership, for me personally, is about them leading from within and demonstrating those the tools to influence others and working with others to drive positive change. And I think leadership has gone from being something that was very around a title or a position to actually being around individuals actually influencing and implementing change. And I think that's a really powerful shift for our industry.
Just saying, we not specifically around gender, but the skill set that women have to have and nurture conversations, particularly maybe when they're difficult conversations. What's some examples in your day-to-day role, Genevieve, with working with family farming businesses around seeing tools that work well to influence change?
Absolutely. So when I'm working with family farming businesses, it's so tricky because you've got family and business so closely intertwined. And I think a really key skill that I think in particular women can bring to the table is the empathy and being able to unpick that stuff. A big part of the role is actually coaching and counselling to an extent, particularly when there's so many challenges coming at our farmers in the forms of regulatory changes. And a lot of this is coming really fast and is requiring some quick adaptations really fast. So I think empathy is key and being able to support people through that. So certainly an attribute which women are naturally seem to be more aligned with.
Yeah, and Bex, in your day-to-day role at Vet Ent in Ranfurly, you're on farm, but you're also in the practice as well. Influencing in your day-to-day role, what does that look like when it's for positive outcome?
Yeah, so really similar. It's that empathetic piece. It's actually being able to, and I think also showing that little bit of vulnerability as well. I am in the position that a lot of my clients are in, being a farmer, being a mother, a wife, but also having that hat of rural professional. It's that relatability and then working together to create positive outcomes and being invested in your clients' businesses. And actually that's sort of from an emotional perspective as well, I think it's really important to go on a journey alongside. And so that's a big part of my job is actually, starting having those conversations and going along a journey alongside my clients and, working through so we get positive outcomes at the end because we all actually care about the end result.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about the end result and this journey that we have coming down the pipeline at the food and fibre sector, Genevieve, what worries you about the rate of change and how we can help support farmers and growers better?
What concerns me about the rate of change is if you look at human learning and how we adapt to change, is change takes time, and the best way farmers learn is getting alongside other farmers and testing ideas, taking information from experts they have access to, trying things on farm, adapting, playing around with these different ideas, and coming up with novel innovations and making it bespoke to their business and to their farm environment. What concerns me about the rate of change is that it's coming at us so fast that a lot of farmers haven't got the time to come together and work through those processes. And what I've seen with my Action Network groups is the value of having that small group learning to solve problems together and to share ideas, to share learnings, what's worked or not worked in their businesses, to help each other. So I'm really hoping, I think there's some really great initiatives happening where we've seen funding coming through catchment groups, but I'm hoping that will ramp up with speed to enable more funding and support to access farmers and work in that small group learning environment.
Bex, I'd love for you to explain a wee bit more further around the whole story and the work that you're doing there.
Yeah, great. So, I mean, the whole story for me was as part of a solution in this dealing with the rate of change that you and Genevieve have just been discussing. And it was really around providing a navigational tool for farmers and using the skill set I have to be able to actually make a difference and help navigate both the challenges coming at us and just added pace that is enabling us to keep up with the rate of change. And so it's really around inspiring and facilitating and articulating sustainability on farms. And so, I mean, from my perspective, farmers have such a can-do attitude and a really, really positive emotional drive to do the right thing. It's about piecing that together and just saying, how do we get there? What are the tools? What rural professionals around New Zealand do we need to work with to actually achieve the things that are being asked of us? And I guess a big thing at the moment in my mind is about empowering farmers to thrive rather than regulating them to survive. So it's actually putting the ball back in their court and saying, right, what are your goals? How do we get here? This is where we need to be, or this is the journey we're on. How can I help you achieve that? And using my skill set with networking and facilitating to be able to pull the right people together to get those positive outcomes.
My last question to you both is around, I'm going to say, our collective age in our lives and having vision and wanting to make change and do things differently. But we also need support to either break through an existing status quo or a team around of traditional businesses that can see a light through in terms of a mindset. So can you give us both an example of where you felt supported by the industry to thrive as a younger person and not having to wait to get into a positional leadership position?
Mm-hmm. I've been really fortunate. I've worked in 2 awesome businesses and had incredible male leaders and mentors give me a job in the first place and then take me under their wing and support me and ask me really challenging questions around, I guess, teaching me to critically think around where is our sector heading, what is my role in it, and how can I contribute value. So I've been really fortunate. I've been incredibly well supported and worked for large businesses which have given me huge amounts of opportunity and mentors in many different forms. But I think this is something the sector does really well, is that we've got all these wonderful people around the country who are incredibly generous and genuine in their interest to support young people. So I frequently phone up people randomly around New Zealand and say, hi, I'm Genevieve and I have a question for you. Can you please help me? And can you give me 5 minutes? And yeah, blown away by the generosity of those I phone up. So yeah, I think the sector's got some really a wonderful culture around generosity and helping young people.
If we could only tell more people to join the sector off the base of that. How's your experience been, Bex?
I definitely agree with Genevieve on that. We have an amazing industry with generosity, with support, and I think it's that being curious and asking for that help. And also a big part for me has been I guess finding my tribe, find a group of people who want to have those conversations with you, who are interested, who push you that little bit outside of your comfort zone to challenge yourself, to sort of strive higher and introduce you to other people and build that network. A big part of that for me has been being a part of the Agri Women's Development Trust, also my employers, and just the wider industry. Being involved with the Zanda McDonald Award and the PPP group is, a really, really shining example of that generosity within our industry and that support network that's available to people if you just put yourself out there, be curious and ask, and just keep asking those questions and find the people who want to have those challenging conversations with you. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Our very first panel on this Opinion Maker, the future of farming through the lens of future leaders. Thank you so much to Genevieve Stephen joining us in studio from KPMG in Ashburton, and Beck Smith, who is with Vet Ent in Ranfurly, both doing incredible things outside of those titles as well. Thank you, ladies. Now coming up, we are going to kick off our next panel with Vivian Grier, farm consultant for Baker Ag, and Gina Smith, Chief Executive of Po'aro Farms, both also finalists in the 2021 Zanda McDonald Award.
This is Sarah's Country. Join the conversation. Have thoughts on an interview? Or have you got questions you want answered by a future guest? Let us know. Email sarah@sarahscountry.com.
Nice boots. Yeah, thanks. They're new. Ben, you alright? Oh, yeah, sorry mate. Just meerkatting pretty hard, eh? Yeah, I just said to myself, Ben, work hard. You deserve new boots.
Well, as we continue on in our Opinion Maker this week around what the future looks like through the lens of our future leaders, we continue that conversation around what is leadership going into the future, having an open mind and open hearts around being able to influence and listen to what the opportunities and challenges there may be for us as a country. It's a pleasure to carry on our panel, second panel of the 2021 Zanda McDonald Award New Zealand finalists. And joining us is Vivian Grier, a farm consultant at Baker Ag in the Wairarapa, working alongside farmers keen to improve and better their farm operations. He's passionate about upskilling young people in the industry as well, is proud to be establishing a mentoring group to develop farm managers and agricultural professionals in his region. A family man, keen fisherman and occasional hunter. Also joining Sam is Gina Smith from the Hararaki Plains and Chief Executive of Po'aro Farms, currently residing, as I said, in the Hararaki Plains on a iwi-owned mixed farming operation spread across 2,200 hectares and 10 farms. Gina is charged with growing the business and has embarked on strategic diversifications into alternate land uses. She's also appointed to the Dairy Women's Network Board in 2020. Gina has a vast experience in large corporate farming enterprises from Waikato to Southland, all whilst having 2 young children. And Gina's with us now. Thank you so much. It's always just breathtaking reading out your introductions and how you achieve everything. Absolutely fantastic, but all are very understandable of why you are finalists in such a prestigious award, the 2021 Zanda McDonald Award. Gina, I'm going to start with you. Now, in terms of leadership in the food and fibre sector, through your lens, what does the future of our leadership look like to you?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So I think the leadership styles that we have traditionally held on to really need to be challenged in the future. Labour is probably the biggest risk in most of our businesses, and to overcome that we need to come up with some pretty out of the box ways to attract people into our industries and then retain them. So certainly that looks to me like being a little bit more, I guess, open-minded and adaptive to treating people as individuals rather than just how they fit into our business. How can our business fit into their lives?
Fantastic way of looking at it. Sam, you are working with farmers all the time in ways to improve the farm operations. How do you see leadership going into the future?
Yeah, kia ora, Sarah. I think for me, the farming industry is probably changing as quick as it ever has. So I think the future leaders are going to have to be diverse in their ability to handle situations. It's an industry that has a lot of different issues coming to the floor or coming to the fore, and they're going to have to be equipped to deal with them, be they environmental or business minded or international trade.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a unique set of skills to have now. I would assume that it's not just what you'd be learning at university or even at school, let alone to be able to have to take further into your farming career. Gina, what has been some of those fundamental moments within your career that's actually sort of helped with the rate of change coming at us?
I think I've always been reasonably lucky with the leaders that I've been able to work with, and sort of cherry pick out the bits that have resonated well with me or I've seen resonate with success. So certainly, any bad learning is still a learning, so we can still apply that in our businesses. But yeah, it really just comes down to there's no one type of leader, and we shouldn't put that pressure on ourselves as leaders to be everything to everyone. I think it's quite okay to go and ask for help for somebody who's better suited to the job. So, pulling on other resources.
Yeah. And Sam, how have you found that as well with developing skill sets to be in a position of influence, but also to things to continue to work on?
Yeah, actually much the same as Gina on a personal level. I've been really fortunate to have a few different leaders that I've worked with in various roles in my time farming who have left some pretty clear imprints on the way I like to handle myself and deal with people. In terms of coming through the industry and as I grew, I think I was just lucky or fortunate to come across people who were able to help me move into the next step or put me on to someone who was able to help.
And the one thing that we all share in common, all the finalists and myself, is of similar age and era in our careers. And certainly there is challenges with that. But at the same time, there's a lot of people wanting to support and elevate young people within the industry. Gina, do you think more needs to be done to attract and retain young people in the industry? And you did allude to it at the start, but if so, what is it and how can we do more?
Yeah, I think, it's a two-way street for sure. We can quite often want to break through those glass ceilings before we're possibly ready, and it's about managing our own expectations as developing leaders, but also, not taking every knockback as a definite setback and finding other pathways. It's I think to attract people, to me it just comes down to diversifying our mindsets to become aligned with their lives. Work isn't the be all and end all to everything, so we have to work out how our work can fit into their lives, and that's not going to look the same to everybody, and there's going to be compromises, but I think it can be done, and there's give and take.
Yeah, what do you think around that, Sam? As the introduction said, you're more than just work yourself, love hunting and fishing and getting out there. Do you think that our younger generation is sort of bringing, we talk about the younger generation, they just want to have it all and work-life balance and things like that, but we're actually showcasing that this is a positive, holistic approach to succeeding collectively?
Yeah, I think you're bang on, Sarah. I think modern work environments have changed massively, particularly the last 12 or 18 months. And that flexible work environment is incredibly attractive to young people coming into the industry and into other industries as well. It's something that farming can provide, is an ability to be flexible, and there's times on farm obviously you can't disappear, but there are other times that work is more flexible. So it's important to advertise that part of the industry. I think the other part too is, once people are in the industry, is showing them a clear pathway to having skin in the game or buy-in at a higher level, and that's something that is probably becoming harder and harder for the industry as land prices and stock prices have gone up. That point of entry is getting higher and higher. So finding creative ways to enable that is pivotal to getting the people in, but also keeping them here and showing them a pathway.
It's interesting that you made that point in last week, or a couple of weeks ago, at the Primary Sector Awards in Hawke's Bay. My dinner conversation with Minister O'Connor was purely on that theme around clearer pathways for young people coming into the industry. And it was great to see that he had a focus on that as well. Hey, just in summary from both of you, around, some of the big opportunities that you see that, through your lens, that we may not in the next couple of years, if we could just come together around them. Gina, I'd love your thoughts first.
Yeah, I think, we're not too dissimilar from other industries, and I think we can join in some conversations outside our own, narrow perspectives sometimes. There's that real opportunity to redefine what success looks like. I think touching on Sam's point there about farm ownership or land ownership or stock ownership or those avenues, yes, they are success, but there's so much more to being successful, and sometimes that, can just be how happy you are and what you're taking out of life at the end of the day. So I think if we can have more conversation about redefining what success looks like, will overall, contribute to a happier workforce, and therefore somewhat it could come all together and stick nicely.
And Sam, the same, through your lens, what are some of those low-hanging fruit opportunities that we just need to sort of get on board with, and we collectively will all win together?
Oh, yeah, bang on. So for me, it's around business structures that enable probably modern employees coming into a business to succeed, and that be at the shepherd level through to the management level, and as Jenna's just alluded to, be it skin in the game or just the ability to have an impact and feel validated. I think the second one is around New Zealand's position as a trade partner. I think last year we were very fortunate in the way we were able to continue trading. And it's about being able to find an economic advantage that way as well, not just an ability to trade, but an actual economic advantage that comes back to the farm gate.
Fantastic. As I said at the end of the last panel, I can tell why you're both finalists in the 2021 Zanda McDonald Award for New Zealand. That's Gina Smith there from Pauaru Farms in the Haraki Plains, and Sam Vivian Grier with Baker Ag in the Wairarapa. Now, before I give you a heads up on what themes we're bringing to our opinion maker next week here on Serious Country, as well as the guests for the rest of the week, our change makers and our thought makers, I just have two small things to remind you of. We have now established our own weekly email newsletter to keep you up to date first on what's coming up on Serious Country weeks in advance, as well as links direct to past interviews you may have missed, some of my favourites, also you don't miss a beat. So sign up at seriouscountry.com to the Serious Country Club. And of course, that will be in your inbox once a week. Our audience survey has told us the majority of you listen to the show on podcast. So we've decided to focus all of our attention in the coming months on improving our social status on the charts. We're currently sitting in the 20s on the science charts for podcast. So all we ask you to do to give us a wee help is subscribe, and if you could be a darling, leave us a review. It all helps our ratings to move through the ranks on podcasts and make sure more people hear this content. Now, next week's Opinion Maker is about know your number and have a plan. That is a clear message from the Program Director of Hawaka Ekanoa. We're going to be joined by her, Kelly Forrester, as well as Dairy NZ, Beef and Lamb, and a farmer from the Bay of Plenty who knows his number, to actually uncover that knowing what your greenhouse gas emissions are is not that difficult if you already have a farm environment plan or you are a supplier to our major dairy, beef and lamb processors here in New Zealand. It's super simple, but the target is to have all farms here in New Zealand knowing their number by the end of 2022. There's also some really good insights into the direction of where the ETS might land around agriculture and how we will collectively achieve a net zero position, net being the word. Where is the sequestration rates included in the conversation? It's a great yarn. Next 7 p.m. Tuesday on Facebook or YouTube, as well as cirruscountry.com. Now, for the rest of the week, our changemaker on Wednesday is Ag Research's senior scientist, John McEwen, who has dedicated decades even, to sheep breeding. And we'll discuss the progress being made on breeding low methane emitting sheep. Ties nicely in with our Know Your Number opinion maker. On Thursday, as part of our new series called Thought Makers on Thursdays, in the lead up to an international webinar series that is being broadcast right out of Lincoln called Multiscapes. It features researchers from around the world coming together to discuss how we design our food scapes and our landscapes into the future. We're going to be joined by Dr. Carol Kervin, a research associate from the University College in London. It's going to be an interesting one. We're going to be looking at the changes over time to pastoralism. So starting with in Kazakhstan and looking how the world has changed from clans of workers to ranchers over the time of moving from nomadic to living together in communities, and how agriculture's developed and how we can take some great from what was in the past in roving animals, etc. Very interesting stuff, this Multiscapes. Go and check it out, multiscapes.co.nz. It's about 50 speakers over 6 weeks. Now, on Friday, our changemaker is a finalist in the New Zealand High Tech Awards announced recently, an orchard management platform simplifying harvest. And we'll be joined by Matty Bloomfield from Hector. Until we meet again, take care of yourself and keep working on that open heart and open mind, because I believe it will do you wonders. In the meantime, haere rā.